Hello and welcome to week 2 and day 9 of the FYB data analysis training. In this class, we'll be talking about descriptive analysis with Microsoft Excel and GraphPad Prism. So for Microsoft Excel, we'll be using the same data set that we used with SPSS, and then we'll be trying to carry out the same analysis that we did with SPSS with Excel. So the first thing I want to tell us is this file we are working with is a CSV file. So that's a comma separated file. Why the extension for an Excel file is actually .xls. So this is a CSV file. The first thing we need to do is to actually save this CSV file as what? As an Excel file, as .xls file, because if not, when you start to do your analysis, you might lose your work later on, and that is why we're having this warning here that okay, some feature might be lost if this workbook is saved in this CSV format. So it's good to save it in an Excel format. So what to do that, simply first go to file and then click on save as. So then navigate to where you want to save the file and then just give it a name. So I still want to go with this name. So it's here we have save as type. This is like the normal file type that it was before, the CSV file type. So you just need to click this and then change it to Excel workbook. So it's now like an Excel file, an Excel workbook now. Then I'll just click on save, and then you can see the warning is gone. And if I do any form of analysis now, if I close it or save it, I'll have my work. I will not lose my work. Okay, we don't need to be coding, we don't need to be finding variable and all of that in Excel. So it might make the work a little bit faster for Excel. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, we need to group some numerical variables just as we did in SPSS. We want to group the age into different age group, and then we want to group this Japanese. I'm looking at the best way to actually go about this. The first thing, we need to know the minimum and maximum age. So I'm just going to create a new sheet, and then, well, let's say this one is for a sort of rough work. So I'm just going to come here and type minimum age, then here maximum age. So to know the minimum age, we can use the min function, that is equals min. That's the name of the function. So then the open bracket, then we need to come here and select everything in the age column. Make sure you've selected everything, close your bracket, then enter. So this is the minimum age. For the maximum age, that's equals to max, and then we need to do the same thing also. And then that is our maximum age. So I think what we did, the range we use is 16 to 20, 21 to 25, then till 35. So we are going to use the same range here too. But so there's a function that can work for us. That function is called if function, but I'm trying not to actually jump too much, so let's try to kind of take it step by step. The first thing, let's simply just behave as if I'm going to add a new column here by highlighting this column and then using Ctrl Shift plus. So then I'm going to call this age category 1. So age category 1, and then so now the first category we want to work with is, we want to say okay, if it is, we want to indicate if it is greater than 20, or let's just use, we are going to say adult, want to say adult, then teenager. Yeah, let's go with that first. So we want to indicate if that particular person is an adult or a teenager. And so that means if the person is equal, if the age is equals to or less than 18, then that's a teenager. If it is if it's greater than that, then that person is not a teenager. So to group in Excel, we can use the if function. So we'll be using the if function. So that will be equals if, then the logical test is something that will give you true or false. Okay, let's not jump. I'm going to also insert another column again, and in this I'm going to call this column, I'm going to call this column. What should I call it? Let's just leave the column. Let's not really give it a column either. So what is a logical test? A logical test is a formula, or yeah, or a function, a formula. Let's use a formula that will give you true or false, so that can stay in place of that logical test. And now to come up with the logical test, you need comparison operators. We have several comparison operators in Excel, like greater than, less than, equal to, or any combination of those. So for example, I might say I might want to write a formula here and say, okay, this age here is less than or equal to 18. Then I press enter. So this is a logical test, and it's going to actually test it. Okay, this age here is 24, so 24 is less than or equal to 18. If that is true, it will return true. If it is false, it will return false. So that is a logical test. So if we click, if we drag this down, it can actually, it's going to give results for all of the columns. So we need this particular logical test is what we need in our if function. So we can come here and say equals if, and then our logical test is still this is less than or equal to 18. And now for inside the if function, value if true is that value if true. Okay, let's do that again. So inside our if function, equals to 18, comma, then we have our if function have three arguments: the logical test, then another one, value if true, and then value if false. If you look at these arguments very well, you will see that these last two, they are in squared brackets. What that means is that that argument is optional. So if the argument is optional, you might not put anything. If you close the bracket, it's still, if you okay, if you close the bracket, let's see, it's not working. But if you just put a comma, so as a comma is just there now, it's going to work. So even if you don't actually put those other arguments, you just put a comma, it will still work. So that's that. When you see argument in squared brackets, that's what that means, that you might not put the argument and then it will still work. But we want to put the argument. So if this logical test is true, we want it to display a text that says um teenager, because that means the person is a teenager, right? Or okay, I think this 18, let's use 19. Yeah, let's just use 19. So yeah, okay. So if this is the case, that means the person is a teenager. So if this logical test is true, then we want to display the word teenager. But because teenager is actually a word, we cannot type it like that in our formula. You have to put it in a double quotation. So you just have to write to type a double quotation first, and then just type teenager. And then if the logical test is false, then you want to return what? Adult. So now we've been able to group our age into what? Adult and teenager. And if you look at it very well, you will see that that is correct. We can remove this. You will see that that is actually correct. So this person is a teenager and all of that. So now if function, if you just have like two categories, so like adults, teenager, just two categories, is easier. But what if we have more than two categories, which is the actual thing that we actually need to do with our age here? We need to split it into, like, is it 3 or 4 age categories? In that case, we have what we call nested if function. So I'm going to have age category 2. And for nested if function, you're also using an if function, but you're kind of nesting it. Okay, so you're going to say equals if, and then the logical test is that, okay, this age now is what? This age is less than or equal to, that, as we said, 15 to 20, right? So the first logical test is that the age is less than or equal to 20. And then if that is the case, that means the age group is what? 15 to 20. So that has to be in double quotes, because that is not a number. That would be like a text, and then comma. But what if that logical test is not true? You want to impute another if function again, which will be if that logical test is okay. If the logical test, Now we've not added the closing quotation here. That's very important. So what if the logical test is not true? For the value if false, instead of you putting like another thing there, you input another if function there. So that will be if, and um the new logical test will now be this less than or equal to 25 in this case. And then if that is true, then that means the age group is what, 21 to 25. But what if that is not true? Then, because we still have another category, we still have two more category, so we are going to put another if function, and then the argument is still this less than or equal to, this case, 30. And if that is the case, then the value should be what, 26 to 30 in double quotation. Also, make sure you close the quotation. And now, because we have one category left, then you don't need to, then you can now input your value if false. Like that means if the person is not 15 to 20, if the person is not less than 20, less than or equal to 25, less than or equal to 30, definitely that means the person is between 31 to 35. So you can now enter that as value if false for the last if function that we've written. And now you need to, one thing about nesting of function, like a nested if functions like this, is that you need to close all the brackets. So now if we close the first one, you can see there's a sort of color. This one, I don't know, this one is like purple, the next one is that red, and then we have another one. You've closed all the brackets. When the last bracket is black, that's when you will know that you've closed all the brackets. So if we enter this now, you can see it has grouped this one. Then if you double click down, then it has actually grouped everything. It has grouped everything. So this is how you can actually create your categories in Excel, that you can group your data in Excel. Now we have another function that is called ifs. So we can use, let's try to use that one too. So that's age. Let's just say age category 2 again. And we want to use ifs function. Okay, so equals ifs. So this time around, I want to use something that is called the formula dialog box to kind of make it easier for us. So after I've typed the name of the function, I'm going to click on this thing here, and then we have this box. So the first logical text is that, okay, this is less than or equal to 20, and if that is the case, that means we want what, 15 to 20 to be displayed. The next logical test is that this same guy is less than or equal to 25, and if that is the case, that means it is between 21 to 25. The next logical test is that this same guy is less than or equal to 30, and if that is the case, that means if that is the case, that means what, the group, it is between 26 to 30. And then the last one is that this guy is less than or equal to 35, and if that is the case, that means what, it is what, 31 to 35. So we click on OK. Now why do we have -4 here? Oh, okay. Now so it's imputing -4 because it's actually doing 15 minus 20 literally. Let's click on this again, and this time around we will just put this in double quotes. So this formula dialog box really does not need the double quotes, but because of the nature of what we are imputing, it requires double quotes. So okay, so now we've been able to still get the same answer. Maybe you might just do it manually if you're not really getting the formula. I don't know, that can work too, maybe if your data is not too much. So that's that with grouping of numerical categories. So we can now go to our data analysis proper now. Okay, in Excel, when you need to analyze your data or when you need to summarize your data, is either you use formulas or functions or you use pivot tables. Now pivot tables is easier, it's easier to use pivot tables, while formulas or function might be like the I don't say like the other one. So now to me, when you're analyzing data generally, it's good for you to come with questions, to have questions. For example, how many respondents do we even have in this data set to start with? How many? So for that, we might want to, okay, let's just say how many respondents, how many respondents do we have really? We don't know. To know, we can use the count function, and that will be equals to count, right? So we have several count function. We have count and count a. So if we try to use count now and we come here, because we don't have an id column really, we might not know what to count. But if you are sure you don't really have duplicate rows, you can count any row really, but you don't even have id, so there's nothing you can do about that. So we can count any of the columns. So let's say we want to count this first column, we only need to highlight everything and then press enter. Wow, it's telling us we have 0. That is impossible. So the problem is that count only work for number. So let's assume we want to count to know the number of rows that we have or the number of respondents that we have. We want to actually use the age column, then we can use the count function by saying equals count, and then if you highlight the age column and then enter, then it's telling us now that we have 268 268 rows that has data. Actually 268 rows contains number. So since we don't have any duplicate in this age column, so it is very useful for what I mean, since we don't have any missing value in the age column, it's good for what we want to do. If we count all the number of values that occurs in the age column or the number of rows, then that is actually the number of our respondents. So count can only count number. So but what if you want to use a column that does not count, that does not contain number, that contains text or a mixture of text and number? Then you can use the count a function. So I'll just come here and edit this to count a. So if we press enter now, then we are going to get our answer. So now we've answered one question. How many respondents? We have what? 268 respondents. Okay, so another question that we have now is that, okay, we want to know how many respondents do we have in different like from different regions, different gender, like basically the frequency table that we did in SPSS. Okay, so what can we do? I'm going to, okay, let's activate filter for this. Control Shift L, and then if we click this, we can see we have 1 2 3 4 5. We have 5 regions. So the first thing you need to do, you can just come here and say, okay, let's just say regions frequency table. Regions frequency table, and you can come here and say, okay, this region, I want region alone. Region, then the frequency, region, the frequency, then the percentage. Okay, so now you need to list out your regions. Really, you only need to, after activating the filter, you only need to come here and list it out. Now you have to make sure that you are listing out exactly what is here. Don't change the spelling, don't add unnecessary extra space. If not, the formulas will have issues. Well, me, I don't like listing it out manually. I'll use a function called unique. You don't have to go through this step. So unique, and this will just list out the unique values in this column. So I'm just going to highlight the column, enter, and then this is everything in that column. I don't exactly care about the formula, so I'm just going to copy it and then paste it out value to remove the formula element there. And then so for frequency now, we have to use a function. The function is called Countif. So that will be equals Countif. Now the range will be the region in your data set. So I'll come here and select this region column. Then I need to fix it by pressing the F14 also, and then comma, then criteria I'll just come back here for the criteria and click on this, and I'll press enter. Then I can drag this down, and then this is what I have. If I want to kind of confirm if what I have is correct, I can try to sum everything together. Then it is meant to actually give me 268. To sum, we can use the sum function, and then I'll just highlight everything, and then it gave me 268, so that is good. Now you can, let's do this without fixing the um the color. Let's see what happened. So our range is this. Without fixing, then I'll just select my criteria, which is this, then enter. So let's drag this down now. The answers are correct also, but what happens when you do not fix it? Let's look at this place now. The cell range selected is what? B2 to B269. So if you come here, it's the same thing, but if you come to this last one, it is now B6 to B73, and that is not what we want. We want it to always refer to that B2 to B269. If you come here to the one you fix, it is always referring to the B2 to B269. It's actually still showing the same answer, but in most cases, in other cases, it's going to lead to you having the wrong result. Anyways, that is that. So percentage, how will you get percentage? You can try to write your formula manually. Then so you just say equals to, click on this, then divided by your total, which is this, right? Then if you press enter, now what I was trying to explain will actually come out now. Then format this into percentage, and then maybe increase the decimal point, and now try to drag this down. So you can now see we are having errors. You're having errors because you did not fix this. So the point is that it's because you did not fix this part of your formula that is referring to the total. The point is that in all of the rows, the cell referring to the total is not meant to change. It is always meant to refer to the total, while the cell referring to each of these one is actually meant to change. For example, if we come here, if we leave this cell now and come here, you want the first part to refer to this one. When you come here, you want it to refer to this one. When you come here, you want it to refer to this one. But pertaining to, for the one referring to the total, you want it to always refer to this 268 cell. So for that to happen, you have to fix it. So to fix it, I'll just highlight this and then press F4, then enter. So then let's just drag down, and then we actually have our results. You can compare it to what we have in SPSS. It should be the same thing, but also you can just say equals this and just say over 268 to prevent that issue of having to fix your formulas, and then you are still going to get like the same result. So that is that about how to get frequency, and like that, how to get your frequency distribution table in Excel actually. So you can do that for like the different categorical variables that we have. You can do that for gender, for academic. So this one you have to do it manually one by one, unlike SPSS where you can just bring everything into the box and then you have your results in seconds. Okay, so another thing, so that's how to get to kind of analyze numerical variable in Excel. So let's do academic, that is grad and under. So for academic now, academic frequency table. So then frequency, then percentage. So for academic, we have just grad and under. So grad, then under, so equals Countif, and then the range will be what? The academic column. Make sure you fix it. And then the criteria, for the criteria, you can decide to type it manually. So instead of selecting something in a cell, you can type it manually, but because it is a text, you can't just type grad. You have to put it in like that quotation thing, then close your bracket and enter, and then that's for this. So if I copy this one now and I come here and I change this grad part to under, then I'll get the one for under. So then I'll just change that to under, and then that is the value for under. So our percentage equals um this over 268. Then I can just drag it down and format it to percentage, increase decimal point. So yeah, that is that. So to use pivot table, we will come here and make sure you click into your data, or even better still, Control A to select every part of your data. Please make sure you select everything with the column headers, and then come to insert, click on pivot tables, and then it's going to show you the data, the range of the data you've highlighted. You can see these broken lines. You might just want to confirm that the right thing has been selected, so that is good. Then we want a new worksheet. I want an existing worksheet. If you click on new worksheet, it will create the pivot table on a new worksheet. So but I want an existing worksheet, so I'll just click on existing worksheet, and then for the location, I'll come here and then select a particular location, and I'll click on OK. Let's just click new worksheet, is fine. Okay, and then we are in a new place. We want to answer the same question really. So we want to answer we want to come up with the frequency table for region. So I'm just going to drag region into rows, and then to be listed like this. The next thing will be to drag region into values also. This time it has now counted it. So very quickly we've gotten our frequency table. I think this one is easier than the formula way. Okay, so that is like as simple as that. I'm going to just Control All and copy this frequency table. In fact, I can cut it because I want to bring it here. So, and that is that. If you need to create another frequency table, maybe for academic level, now you don't need to go through the stress of doing it all over again. You can actually copy, Control All, and make sure you copy then you copy the whole frequency table, click and paste it somewhere else, then remove region from this place, remove like from the two, then pick academic, put it here, pick academic, put it here, and then we also have a frequency table for academic. So you can change the row label to something that is befitting, maybe academic level, then change this count of academic to frequency. Okay, what if you want to what if you want to get percentage for this one? Now, okay, I close that thing is called, what's it called, I'm not sure. So I close that pane. So to bring this back, click into your pivot table, then click on pivot table analyze, then click on feed list, then it's going to come back. So to get percentage, I'm going to drag region back into the values field. So I have an extra, kind of like an extra column, and here click on this thing like the drop down and click on value field setting. So under value field setting, summarize by we want count. So sometimes you might not want to count, you might want to sum, average, maximum, minimum, really depending on what you are doing, and then show value as. So now where we want to go now is actually the show value as. So show value as, presently it is no calculation, so you might want to come here and say okay, show value as percentage of grand total. That is what we want. Click on that, then click on OK, and then we can now see our percentage. So that's how to get like the full frequency table, the frequency and the percentage with pivot table in Excel. Okay, so finally that is that with categorical analysis of categorical univariate analysis of categorical variable in Excel. So let's go to that for a numerical variable. For numerical variable, so you first have to determine the different, the different metrics that you want to come up with. So let's say we want to come up with mean. So you might want to come up with mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, maximum, minimum, and all of that. So let's say we want to do this for age That is fine. So you just have to say equals. For me, the name of the function is average, equals average. Then we'll come here. You have to select your age column. Make sure you select everything. Then enter. So that is the age. For the median, we also have median. Use the median function. Just select the age column. That's median. For the mode, there are a number of functions for mode. We have mode multi, so which we actually list out. If you have more than one mode, it will list out everything, but I want to go for mode single. I think that will give me the smallest mode in case I have more than one mode. And then so you can try out the mode multi, and then that is mode. Standard deviation, for standard deviation we use the stdev formula, stdev function. For stdev, we have stdev for population and stdev for sample. So because we are work, if you remember, the standard deviation formula for both sample and population differs. It's not the same thing. So because we are working with sample, we are going to choose stdev.s, like stdev.sample. So we just select the age column again, and then that is our standard deviation. Variance, there is the same thing. We will choose var.s, and then that is our variance. For maximum function, and then that is our maximum value. For minimum function, and then that is the minimum. So we've been able to compute like descriptive statistics for age. So to do for other numerical variables, really you have to do it manually. There's a method. So another way to, you can use pivot table for this also. So let's try to use pivot table. I'll just come here and copy this particular, and first highlight, then copy this pivot table. So I'll post it here, and then I want to remove whatever is here. I don't need any of these, and then I'm just going to put age. I don't need to put age here because I'm not trying to compute frequency table for age, so I'm going to remove it and put age under value. Now ideally, anything you will put under value should be something that you can do calculation upon. Maybe you want to add some, or at the very least you want to count. That's why we were able to put region here. So now, because this is age and it is number, Excel thought that okay, maybe they want to add it. We don't want to add it, so we have to change that. So we'll just come here, value fit setting, and then for the first one I want the mean, so I'll choose average. So that's my average. I'm going to bring back the age, and then say what else do I. Another way to get value fit setting is to right click on this place and then click on value fit setting. So in this case I want median. Do we have median here? I'm not sure if I can see median here, but I can see maximum. So I want maximum, and that is maximum. I'll bring in age again, and this time around I want minimum. So let's see what else can it give us. So you also have summarize values by and show value as. So summarize values by, okay, we've chosen average, maximum, minimum. Do we have any other thing that is useful to us? Okay, standard deviation, and then let's bring in age again, and then this time around show the variance. So really, then if you need to change the decimal point, just reduce it as necessary. But you can, yeah, that's that. So we can get all of these values with formula, and you can get it with pivot tables, though you can't get median with pivot tables. Another last way to do this, there is something called under my own data tab, we have this data analysis tab here. So you might not have it. Let's see. You can search online how to activate the data analysis tab, but data analysis tool, let me see if I can show us. So go to file, and then go to options, then add-ins. So under add-ins here, Excel, change this to, make sure this is Excel add-ins, then click on go. So then choose, make sure this analysis toolpack, make sure it is checked, then click on OK, and then this should appear under your data tab. This should appear here under analyze. So if you want to use this now to also compute the same thing, so come here, click on data analysis, I've not saved my work since morning, so I need to save it. To click on data analysis, we have different options there, but we want to go with descriptive statistics. So click on that, then click on OK. Then this thing will come up. So it's asking for input range. So input range for us is the age. So I will come here and select the age. And then age is really in a column, not in form of a row like this. So this column is okay. So labels in first row. Since label is not, we didn't select it with the column header, so we don't need to check this label in first row. So output option, it might output in a new worksheet, but if you don't want it to be in a new worksheet, you can click on output range and then now click into this box to select this place as where the result should be displayed. So what do you want to see? Me, I just want to see the summary statistics, so I'm going to check this. Then I think that is good. Then I'll just click on OK. And then so now we have summary statistics for our age. So you can see the mean, same thing, standard error, median, mode, standard deviation, sample variance, skewness, range, minimum, maximum, and all of that. So that is how you can actually do descriptive statistics for numerical variable in Excel. I don't think you can select multiple columns, so you have to also do it one by one. So that is that for univariate analysis with Excel. But what if you want to do bivariate analysis, like the stuff we did with crosstab? That one is, if you are using formula, is a bit more complex again, but let's try to do it. So let's assume, just as we did in SPSS, I want to know the number of female international students, number of male international students, and all of that. So how can we do that? So I'll just come here first and then just type male, then female. Now also come here and type grad, then under. So we are going to be using the Countif function. So not count if now, but count ifs. So that equals count ifs, and then criteria range 1. Let's say I want to select the gender column first. So I'll just come here and select gender. Then you have to fix it. Then criteria is maybe this male here, right? And then okay, criteria is this male. So comma, and then criteria range 2 will now be the academic column. So the interdom column. Make sure you fix it too. Then comma, and then you need to select the criteria, which is this. And then if you press enter, oh mine, telling us it is 0. Okay, why is that the case? So we have male and we have it is not 0. That's very obvious. And one way we can confirm that, you can come here. Oh wait, this is meant to be inter and dome, so that's why we are having 0. Good. So now this is 73. You can also kind of still get the answer without writing formulas, though it will be very manual. So you can come here and try to filter your data and say, okay, maybe let's change this to inter, right? That's what we have here. And then for the gender, filter to male only. So now we have our data, everything that we have for this data. Now we've filtered it down to international male student. So if you just highlight any column, and then if you come here, you can see it's saying the count is 73. So this one, you can click on it. Alright, you can select several other values that you want, average, counts, and all of that, depending on what you are doing. But this count is okay, and you see that it's actually equals to what we have here. I'll just remove the filter, and then that is good. So if you write the formula for the everyone, it is going to work. But writing the formula manually, really, like again, so if I want to write this one, I can write it again for this, again for this. That's because dragging it will not give us the right results due to some things. But if you write it manually again, it will work. For dragging to work, And why that might matter is that what if I have like 10 categories here, or maybe another 6 categories here? That means I need to fill like 60 box. I don't want to be writing manually for all of that. The main reason for of using data analysis tool for your analysis is for it to be faster, and not for you to be doing like manual work all over again. Okay, what can work, how to make it work when you drag is you actually have to have a bit of knowledge about referencing in Excel. We already know about fixing columns, but also that fixing of column, that is absolute referencing. But we have what we call relative referencing. So for that relative referencing, to make this formula work, this particular part of the formula actually has to be a relative reference. So I'm going to press F4 again, but I don't want it to be absolute, so I'll press it again. And then this way, now what this means is that, okay, I'll press it again. And is this what I want? Let me look at it well. When I drag this, I don't want, okay, I think this is what I want. Now what this means is that the dollar sign is against the D, and then the 6 does not have dollar sign. What this means is that if I drag this formula across, it will always still refer to column D, which is what I want in this case. But when I drag it down, it can refer to another row. That is fine. And then I have to do the same thing for the second criteria, which is, and for this one, it will be the number that will have the dollar sign, which means that when I drag down, the number does not change, but when I drag across, okay, for this one, when I drag across, the column can change, but when I drag down, the number doesn't change. Really, don't, you might not disturb your head too much on all of this. You can just use pivot tables. So I just want to show us. So now if I drag my formula now, then it's going to work. So I have my answer. But how can we do this cross tab thing? So now we know that we have 73 male international students, and then 128 female international students. But how can we do this with pivot table? Let's just come here and create another pivot table. Existing worksheet, hopefully to accept this one. I don't know why this error usually come up. All the best. Let's just copy one. Let's copy one pivot table and edit it. So now we want to edit this. Since the pane is not showing, come to pivot table, analyze, and click on field list. And the first thing is to remove everything that is here so that we can configure it to what we have. So we want male to be on the row, we want gender, so we can drag gender here, and then we want interdome to be like for the column, so we can just drag that one for the column. And then for the values, you can really drag anything into it, it's just for it to count it. But let's just still use the interdome again, and then it's going to count it. So we have exactly the same answer. So this is how you can do cross tabulation in Excel, both with formulas and with pivot tables. I believe most people will just go with pivot tables now. That is like soft life. Another thing we did in SPSS is we tried to know the mean total depression score across different categories, like maybe international and domestic, even I think with the gender. So to do that, we can use formulas, but really I don't want to really stress us with formulas. To use formulas, we use functions like average if, average ifs, and all of that, but I really don't want us to stress about that. So I'm going to copy this pivot table and paste it and try to edit it just to get that. So first thing is to remove everything that is there presently. To remove everything that is there so that we can come up with our own pivot table. And then okay, now so the first, so we want to drag in this one into rows, and then the total depression score, want to drag it into values. Now it's presently showing us sum, we don't want sum, we want average. So we can come here, value fit setting, and then choose average. So now this is average depression score for domestic students, and then this is the average depression score for international students. You can still take this further. Maybe you want to know the average depression score for female international students, and then average depression score for female domestic students. So then that means we need to put gender into columns, and then we also have the answer. So another thing we can do here, you can right click and still choose value fit setting, or let's say, yeah, value. Right click on any of the numbers, choose value fit setting, and then decide on the number format by clicking on this. So I want number, and then I want it to be 2 decimal place, so click on OK. Okay, and then the pivot table is looking better. So that's that on bivariate analysis in Excel. So what if, let's go into data visualization now. What if we want to create charts? Let's start from the scatter plot. For scatter plots, so let's assume we want to plot total depression score against, so we want to plot this against the total depression score. Was this what we did yesterday? I think so. So I want to just copy. I can copy it, or okay, I want to highlight these two columns, this, and then I want to highlight this one too. So you need to hold down on control and then select this one. So that's the total depression, and then the total social connectedness column. That was the same thing we plotted in SPSS for our scatter plot. So the next thing is to go to insert, and then this is scatter plot here. You can click on it and then choose the simple scatter plot, and then so this is our scatter plot. You can cut it and just go and paste it in another sheet if you want that. So these are scatter plots. It's the same thing that we got in SPSS. You can change the name, do a lot of other things, but that's just the scatter plot. So what if we want to create bar charts, pie chart, and the likes? Let's go back to this sheet, to this place where we have frequency by region. So let's assume that we want to actually plot, we want to plot we want to create a bar chart for our region frequency table, so that will be showing the region and their respective frequency. So I'm just going to highlight region and frequency. I've highlighted that. Make sure you're not highlighting the total row. Then go to insert. Then you can actually click on this to see everything you need about charts. So we have what's it called now, we have recommended charts already, so this is good. But go to all charts, and then still I want column chart anyway, so we can click on that and then okay, and then this is our chart. So you can give it a befitting title. Maybe we can talk about sorting of the charts later on, but this is our chart. So I can, apart from cutting, you can right click and click on move. I'm coming, right click, and then you can move the chart to another sheet. Okay, move chart. So I want to move it to, is this sheet 6 now? I think that's sheet 6. Then okay, so now it has been moved to this particular sheet. So what if we want to create a pie chart? So let's create pie chart for this one. So highlight this, go to insert, and then this is pie chart. You can choose this, and then we have our pie chart for academic level. So the charts in Excel are easier to edit. You can just double click, change your title, change color, add label easily, and all of that. So really what I do, I create my frequency table in SPSS. I copy it and paste it into Excel, and then create my chart in Excel. That's what I do most of the time. Now this is creating charts from when you actually created your summaries through frequency tables. If you created your summary through pivot chart, you need to click into the pivot chart and then go to insert. Then you have pivot chart here. I mean, if you created your summary through pivot tables, click into your pivot table, then go to insert, then click on pivot chart, and then it's really almost the same process. Click on the chart you want. Then now when you create a chart using pivot tables, you will see all these buttons which might not be useful. So you can right click on on any of the buttons and then choose hide all feed buttons on chart. So all those buttons will be gone, and then you have like a normal chart. Okay, let's say we want to actually yeah, let's create a chart for this. This one will actually create a compound column chart for us, or we can use a compound column chart to visualize this. That will be similar to the chart that we created from the cross tab option in SPSS. So click into your pivot table, go to insert, pivot chart, and then this is a clustered column chart. So then click on OK, and then this is what we have. You can hide you should hide all of this, and then yeah, this is what we have. So that is really how to visualize your data in in Excel. If you go to the chart option, insert, and then this, you see that we have the option of using different type of charts. We have line charts, pie charts, bar charts, area charts, scatter plot, map, and all of that. So but for your project, you probably just be needing either this or pie chart or column chart or maybe scatter plot. That is that on descriptive analysis with Excel. Really, we've not saved our works in morning. That is a risk. It's good to save your work as you are working. So to just save, come to file and then click on save, or you can also use the Ctrl S shortcut and it will also save your work. This class is also meant to actually cover descriptive analysis with GraphPad Prism, but that will be treated in a later video, maybe on day 4, when we are talking about carrying out t-test with GraphPad Prism. So that will cover descriptive analysis for GraphPad Prism too. So I hope you enjoyed today's class, and I'll see you tomorrow.